have an ache that lives deep in my womb, Lance. And sometimes I just cry from my soul about it. And I sent you so many messages opening up to you about that. You knew. You knew. You fucking knew. I never would have opened up my body that intimately to you. With the trauma that gives me anxiety attacks, my anxiety that manifests in my stomach and I puke. And if you clout chase in my name, I will drag you to kingdom come across the coals. I will not have my pain tainted with the violence of Nazis.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Mika Reacting Reviews, where we react and review to things on the internet. And today we are going to react to Amber Heard 2.0. I came across this video yesterday. I was flabbergasted to hear from this woman's lips how she took an act of consensual sex and manipulated the situation using emotional, triggering, woke language to turn her consensual sex to non-consensual sex, pretty much falsely accusing with false allegations of assault to a man once again she consensually had sex with. I watched this and I was like, I have to react to this because I need to get this shit out, because this shit is what happens. And a lot of times, maybe not in a court of law, but in places like university, her allegations would have been taken credible, and she can use the same thing she's saying in this video right now to ruin another man's life. And the scary part is that she has a large platform. She has fans. She has young girls who follow her. Apparently, she's some sort of super far woke, progressive, social justice warrior, feminist, I am woman, hear me roar, sort of comedian. That's her platform. That's what she does. That's the audience she's directing this to. And to be completely honest, everybody that's a part of this really weird rabbit hole love triangle all kind of fits that label of just being fake woke, super progressive libtards, and using all their woke ideology to try to score sympathy points. And I just want to let you guys in. I want you to see the craziness of this person and let me know if I'm the one making too much of a big of a deal about this, or is this batshit nuts? Before I show some of the clips, let me break it down to you just a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, so basically this is the classic case of girl meets boy, girl wants relationship with boy, boy never confirms he really wants a committed relationship with girl, girl freely has sex with boy, boy then go sleep with someone else because he's a fuckboy and a player, girl gets her feelings hurt, girl then continues to try to destroy his fucking life. So, that being said, let's react to some clips.
I've been friends with Lance Sosi for the last year, and for the last 6 months we were romantically involved, working towards meeting each other and seeing if we could pursue a long-term relationship.
Stopping that. Okay, so 6 months, just 6 months online, not in person, online. Just keep this in mind. All right, let's continue.
Lance became my friend very soon after I lost a baby and I'd been having panic attacks for the first time in my life, and he supported me beautifully through those things and really made me feel safe. And eventually I fell for him and told him, and I kept having the panic attacks, and he just kept telling me to open up and trust him, and he wanted to protect me, and I really think he wanted to protect me.
So, this is one of the manipulation tactics she's using right now. First of all, notice the music in the background to dramatize her feelings, right? And I'm not trying to take away from her emotions. I truly think she is a woman scorned. I also think she's overacting for the TikToks and for her audience. It's obvious. I mean, I think her and Amber Heard literally had the same acting coach. Anywho, she said she lost the baby. Now, I am not sure. I do not know this woman personally, but from what the internet is saying, she did not have a miscarriage. She had an abortion. She freely and voluntarily snuffed her own child out of her womb. Now, if I'm wrong, I very much apologize, but from everybody is saying that she had an abortion. But the way she's trying to say it on here is as if she had a miscarriage to once again garner sympathy. Now, abortions can still be emotional and triggering and traumatic. A lot of pro-choicers don't ever want to talk about that part of things. So she could still be like upset about the abortion, but the way she's talking about it is as if she had a miscarriage. Again, to just garner sympathy points. And then she goes on to say the guy she slept with was there for her, had a shoulder for her to cry on, an ear for her to speak to, which just kind of seems like human decency. It doesn't necessarily mean someone's falling in love with you. However, he could also just been doing that to, yes, get into her pants, but it doesn't necessarily mean someone wants to have a relationship with you just because they're being kind to you in a moment of your sadness. But let's continue.
He brought up once or twice that he'd been listening to a podcast about polyamory, and he asked me what I thought of that, and I said no, I couldn't do that. And given all the romantic messages we were sending, I thought he would oblige until we could talk about it later.
Now, let's backtrack. She had a 6-month online relationship with someone who let it be known that he was intrigued and interested in an idea of open relationships or polyamory, that he was listening to podcasts. He brought it up to her and she said no. And then he dropped the conversation and she thought, which means she assumed that because she said no, that he would no longer pursue a relationship with her unless she was going to be the only one. Let's repeat that. She thought, she assumed. There was no conversation about whether they were going to be committed or not. She never brought this up. He never brought this up. She never sat down with him or got on the phone with him and said, hey, do you want to be committed to me? Do you want a monogamous relationship with me? That never happened. So all her ideas of them being a couple, or because they're being romantic, they're going to be together, or they're going to have this long-term relationship, was her assumptions because he was being nice to her and being kind to her, which is a pretty low bar. I mean, just someone being kind to you and nice to you doesn't mean they want to wife you up. Anyway, let's continue.
And so under that pretense, we never talked about it again. And under that pretense of understanding that I needed to be the only one, I flew to Denver and I had unprotected sex with him. In less than 24 hours after I had had unprotected sex with him, I found out that he was on a date with another woman because he posted a TikTok with her. He never told me, and when I confronted him, he said, I was going to tell you. Lance, you knew full well I wouldn't have bought that ticket had I explicitly known you were seeing other people. You felt entitled to my body because I trusted you. You felt entitled to my body because I had publicly supported you. You violated my trust. I almost want an STD test.
Let's go back, okay? Like I just said, she said he brought up the idea of polyamory. She said no, and then they never continued talking about it again. Meaning they never continued the conversation what type of relationship they were having. Meaning there was no conversation whether they were in a committed relationship. Meaning they weren't in a committed relationship. They were dating. They were just talking. That's all this was, right? She then uses words like, you felt entitled to my body, because that's a very like pro-feminist, pro-woke, pro-progressive thing to say. You felt entitled to my body. The only time that language really makes sense if let's say a guy takes you out on a date, and just because the guy paid for dinner, then he gets upset because he cannot have sex with you. He feels because I paid for dinner, I'm entitled to your body. That's true. In that case, I can see that. But that wording is not appropriate in this situation, because not only did he want your body, you also wanted his body. That is literally why you flew across the Americas to meet him, to have unprotected sex with him, because you also wanted his body. So if he felt entitled to your body, then you also felt entitled to his body. So it was mutual. It was consensual. Again, if you want to know if someone's committed to you, simply ask if they're committed to you. Let's continue.
Lance violated my body in a way I didn't consent to. I did not consent to unprotected sex with multiple partners. There is no way that he could have misinterpreted my intentions with him. I was explicit. I had been learning.
Okay. There was no way he couldn't have known your intentions to him. Only you never communicated the intentions to him. Because she is saying in her own words what happened. She never said, I said to him specifically, I only want to be with you and I want you to only be with me. She never said, we said that we'll only be together. She is going off of, he was kind to me, he was nice to me, he was there at my time of need. He bought me gifts. She says that later on. He bought me gifts. So I just assumed, I felt that he wanted to be with me, but they never had that conversation. People are not mind readers. You cannot assume people feel the same way as you. Men and women are very different in that regard. A lot of men will be boyfriend material all day, every day. They will be nice to you, kind to you, buy you gifts, say I love you, and still not want to be with you. Women are different. If women say all those things and do all those things, we want to be with you. But we assume because we feel that way, then the person we're with feels the same way. Never assume someone feels the way you feel or will react the way you react. That's why you communicate, because you are fucking grown up. And then she goes on and talks about how like she bought lingerie for him, so because she bought lingerie, then it's obvious that they should be together, that she wanted to be committed. Like, I bought lingerie when I was 16 and lost my virginity. I didn't expect the guy to sacrifice his entire life for me and only be with me forever and ever and ever. Now, this is the part where she starts to talk about non-consensual sex. This is the part that it gets a little bit dangerous, because you just heard her say, I didn't consent to having sex with multiple partners. Now you might be confused by that and think she actually means she had a threesome or orgy or something like that. That is not what she's talking about. Have you ever heard of the saying, every person you sleep with, you slept with their past sexual partners? I heard that a lot when I was growing up, like when I was a teenager, and was supposed to like stop you from like having unprotected sex. Like, remember, if you sleep with this person, you slept with all of their partners in the past, right? That is what she's on about. But for some reason, she's saying she didn't consent to having sex with his future sexual partners. Like, if I knew you were going to have sex with someone else, I would never consent to, because now I feel like I had sex with your future sexual partners. I'm really confused by that. Or is she trying to say, if he slept with me so easily and then went on a date with another girl, that means he's a raging slut, and I didn't consent to sleeping with a raging slut. But did you have that conversation before? It's weird to me how you have an issue having unprotected sex with someone if they continue to have sex with someone after, but you didn't have an issue having unprotected sex with someone knowing that they had past sexual partners. Like, what's the difference? Because he's not a virgin, so he's had past sexual partners, and you still had unprotected sex with him, didn't get an STD test before or after, but now is an issue because he had a sexual partner after you? Girl, make that make sense. How is one worse than the other? I don't know if she completely just didn't pay attention in sex ed, but you can carry STDs for months and years without having any symptom, but still be spreading that STD. So it doesn't matter if he had sex with someone close timelines of having sex with you. It just matters if he had sex with someone ever before and you still consented to having unprotected sex with him. But somehow he's all the blame. This girl takes no accountability and no responsibility for her fucking actions. And mind you, she has a large platform, most likely with young girls taking her advice, and she's leading the way. Let's continue.
I had bought lingerie for us months ago for me to wear for him. I had bought him gift cards for Christmas, all for him to buy things for us when we're together. This was extremely romantic and extremely personal and extremely vulnerable for me. And I was taken advantage of in that trust in a way that I just didn't consent to. I did not consent to that sex. I didn't. I don't know if that legally makes it assault, and I don't want to say that it does, because that's an accusation I'm not prepared to level against someone But Lance J. Sosi, you knew full well how invested in you I was. I bought tickets to see you twice, and every time you canceled, I kept supporting you and just holding you during all your dark times. And you know it, and you kept telling me how happy I made you.
There's so many things wrong with what she just said. There's so many things wrong with what she just said. First of all, she said she bought him a gift card for them to enjoy when she visited. So the gift card wasn't for him. The gift card was for them to enjoy. Second of all, she hints to, alleges to, leans into the idea that this was a non-consensual sex because he didn't want to give her the type of relationship that she wanted. That there was non-consensual sex because he turned out to be someone that she thought he was not. He was a fuckboy, he was a player. So now it's non-consensual sex. It might not legally be considered assault, but I mean, let me give you his full name as she spelled it out to you. Continue to go, you know I wouldn't have done that, you know I was invested in you, me, my feelings, my emotion. Girl, that's how you felt. That is how you felt. That's how invested you were. Doesn't mean he was invested back into you. Doesn't mean he felt that way to you. Did you have the conversation to see if you were on the same level? You did not. So how would you know how he felt if you never had the conversation to see how he felt? Again, men can be very boyfriend Me Too girls. Men can cuddle you and love you and kiss you and buy you gifts and shop you around and spoon you and all the romantic little things and still not want to be with you. Until you have the conversation, you don't know. So stop assuming. A lot of women do this. They get themselves in relationships they think is a relationship. He knows that it's friends with benefits. Because you're not having a conversation, you just keep living in your delusion. I'm not saying what he did to her was okay. I'm not saying that he's not a player. I'm not saying he's not a fuckboy. I'm not saying he's not a kind of like grimy. However, in my mind, he doesn't owe her anything. They're dating. He doesn't owe her his schedule, who else he's with, who else he's dating, what his lifelong plans are with a relationship, unless they sit down and have a conversation and she asks him directly. But he is not obligated to her just because they were nice to each other online and just because they had sex. You are not obligated to that person's information just because you let that person inside your body. I am sorry, that is a hard pill to swallow, but a lot of girls need to fucking realize that so you stop putting yourself in these uncomfortable situations and getting fucking fucked over. However, she's taking something that a lot of us has gone through, a lot of the ups and downs and trials and tribulations when it comes to dating, and she's turning that into this massive fucking mountain. And basically creating a narrative and allowing a narrative to happen that he basically assaulted her.
I may be pregnant with your child, and you are apologizing for your communication. I have an ache that lives deep in my womb, Lance. And sometimes I just cry from my soul about it. And I sent you so many messages opening up to you about that. You knew. You knew. You fucking knew! I never would have opened up my body that intimately to you. With the trauma that gives me anxiety attacks, my anxiety that manifests in my stomach and I puke. From that trauma, I still puke. I still feel nausea multiple times enough from the anxiety and the trigger responses from that experience. Why don't you apologize for taking advantage of my vulnerability to get in my pants? You knew I never would have ever slept with you without a condom had I known what was going on. I found out on TikTok. Lance. How you can support me is by standing up for me and standing up for the autonomy of all female bodies and all human bodies.
This woman takes absolutely no accountability for her actions. She goes on TikTok and says, I could be pregnant, as in lashing out an allegation to him as you did this to me. You consented to having unprotected sex with him. You also consented to that. So if you may be pregnant, that is not just on him. That is on you. But I have not once seen her go, you know what? I should have just had a conversation with him. I should have made things more clear. I should have communicated that with him. I should have wore protection. I should wear a condom. Maybe I shouldn't be flying across the Americas just because I talked to a guy for a few months online. Any of those could have worked. Any of those. Look, I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm really not trying to trash her with her emotions or discount her emotions, because I understand in a way what she's saying. When you feel like you put everything into a relationship and then you find out later that that person didn't feel the same way about you, and you're like, fuck, if I knew that, I wouldn't have opened myself up. I wouldn't have been vulnerable. I wouldn't have had sex if I would have known that. But still, you're not taking any accountability. This should be a learning lesson for you, not an opportunity to, in a way, to call a guy an assaulter. Say you had non-consensual sex because he didn't want to have a long-term relationship with you, and then set your fans out to attack him. This should have been a learning lesson with you, with a bucket of ice cream, some Kleenex in your girlfriends, and go, you know what, next time I need to protect myself better. I need to protect my heart better. I need to protect my body better. I need to be more direct with what I want out of a relationship. That's what I need to do next. No, instead she is playing the fucking victim card. She's not a victim. She's a victim of, somebody like fucking her over and getting sex from her and being a fuckboy. But to act as you were a victim to the point of you being assaulted, you being AR'd, you being sexually taken advantage of, no, that's not to that point. And that's why I call her Amber Heard 2.0, because she's taking something and she's creating something so much more exaggerated from what it really is. And she's taking advantage of her community that is super feminist and woke and progressive, using her emotions, using her female tears, using her toxic femininity, using sort of woke language to sort of grab people's attention to be on her side. This is classic narcissism. This is classic emotional manipulation. This is sad. But let's continue.
In all human bodies, fully consenting to intimate sexual encounters with full knowledge of the context. And how you can also support me is by fully shouting down inflammatory, outrageous, and dehumanizing rumors that are now popping up because people who want to kill Lance Sosi are latching onto them to restart their violence. I will not have my truth be tainted with racism and violence against a Native man by spreading only the truth and supporting women honestly, completely. And if you clout chase in my name, I will drag you to kingdom come across the coals. I will not have my pain tainted with the violence of Nazis.
Yes, that was the best slam poetry I've ever seen. That was, everybody, what do you call these things? Snaps. Snaps all around. So you might have been confused by the last part. This rabbit hole is really weird, and I'm not really going to talk about the other half of it because it doesn't really go with what I was talking about. But because the guy she's talking about is like indigenous or Native American, which he really is just a male feminist that took advantage of that and basically fucked a bunch of bitches. He's a classic male feminist, right? I'm a male feminist, so I can get a bunch of women to bring their guards down so I can have sex with them. So I'm not saying he's not a creep, but he's not the only one accountable in this situation. However, because he's Native American, people start attacking him because she's told them to attack him. She said, the way you can support me is go after him. Here's his full name. We're not going to stand for this. And then when people did that, she started going, well, now I don't want the white people to get involved because that's racist, and I only want people to believe me, to go after him, but none of the racist people shouldn't go after him. Only the people that are on my side and believe my story should go after him. Like, bitch, what the fuck? And because people start going after her and saying that she has white woman tears and all this stuff, it just kept going on and on and on. There was another woman who came out and also accused him of a non-consensual sex, but then she backtracked because people were saying you're attacking a Native American indigenous person, and then the other person he dated was a Native American or an indigenous woman, and then that woman came out and started to use her indigenous-ness to like get people on her side to go back and attack the white white women is really fucked up, is a completely fucked up rabbit hole. I'm not going to go into it, but I wanted to really hit on this part, and I'm sorry that this video is long. I guess I could have made it more precise, but my point is that she used a classic I fucked a fuckboy, consensually so, but because he turned out to be a fuckboy, I can now say that consensual sex was non-consensual, and I can now say he assaulted me. That's dangerous, and that is female privilege. I'm gonna end it there, guys. This video is way longer than I wanted it to be, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe, and you guys have an amazing day.